Hi, this is Celia. I just uploaded a video today that I recorded over a week ago, and I was kind of debating whether to upload it or not. Even though I already censored myself, I just feel like a lot of my videos are kind of like shitty or like negative. And also, in terms of what I'm talking about, and also in terms of how they look, I don't have makeup. I record in not very so favorable places, and they're kind of dark sometimes. So, like, let me try to do a little bit better video. I mean, not perfect, but a little bit better. And I didn't know what to talk about, but since today is Indigenous People Day, actually, some people call it Columbus Day, but I think it should be called Indigenous Peoples Day. I decided to just kind of like talk about my awakening and just kind of like my thoughts and what I've learned and stuff like that. So if there's something that I say and you're like, I feel like you should do your own research. But yeah, and also I would like to point out that I still don't know very much, and there's still a lot that I have to learn. And so yeah, I might be cringing when I watch this like later on, because that's kind of what I did in one of my older videos where I'm talking about kind of this type of stuff, and I'm like, oh. Anyways, when I used to hear the word like Native American or even Indigenous, I wouldn't really think anything of it. Like Native American, I would just thought like the people who used to live here in the United States before the Europeans came. But after that sentence, nothing, like nothing. I didn't think anything. Indigenous people, I would only like think about like the indigenous people like in Mexico, like the people who can't speak Spanish or who dress indigenous. And also I wouldn't really think of anything about it, even though I did question a few times, like in my mind, that was like, why don't they speak Spanish? And then I questioned too, like kind of like it's weird that almost all except for Brazil speak Spanish in Spain. And Spain is all over on the other side of the world. Like that's weird. I was like, just kept on going with my life until this is kind of how things spiraled. November 2016, when Donald Trump was elected as president, I decided to take a class in politics and a race and racism class, because I kind of just wanted to understand more, like why are people racist? Like, I don't know. And yeah, so my race and racism class did. I love that class. I feel like that kind of like woke me up a little bit, but it was more like in regards of like I wanted to learn more about my culture and about like, you know, my people, and, you know, be proud as Mexicans, and, you know, this and that. So then I took a Spanish class to perfect my Spanish and writing skills. And then the teacher made a comment about how after Europeans came to America, the continent, not the country. I'm sorry if I'm a little petty sometimes. Like if I'm a little petty, this is stuff like that gets on my nerves, especially with the entitlement that white people have here. But anyways, she made a comment that after the Europeans came to America, that they took spices and they took tomatoes and potatoes to the old world, and how that revolutionized like the culinary, how do you say, a culinary, like, you know, the food, like you that's when like Italians started like doing, you know, doing with stuff with their tomatoes, and then like the people from India started like making their food spicy and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, what? And that's when it started like kind of like clicking my mind. Wait, so you're telling me that the United States wasn't the only place that got colonized. Did Mexico get colonized? Wait a minute. Is that why we speak Spanish and Spaniards speak Spanish? Wait, what? I'm like, okay, I have to take a class of Mexico's history. And I'm gonna take a Chicano Latino Studies class. And that's what I did. And in my Chicano Latino Studies class, that's where like I was like, what? Because I actually learned almost all of this like pre-colonization history and kind of like what happened. And this is how fucking ignorant I was. I didn't know Mexico was colonized. Like, how stupid is that? I am fucking Mexican. I didn't know why I speak Spanish. And it's a lot of, and this is like shit that I can almost say 100% that the majority of other Mexicans don't question either and don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck? And that's where I like, the teacher also like told us that like we're indigenous people because we were here before the Europeans came. So then it's like, that's fucking mind-blowing, which it's so fucking obvious because we don't look European. So I mean, and again, this is just shit that like I didn't even think about. Like, how is that even possible? Like anyways, and then we talked about like how there's a lot of self-hate. Oh, and then he said like 80%, I think like 80% or 70, I think it was like 80% of people, of Mexicans, are indigenous people. Like it's in the, like in their blood, you know. So it's not like census or people said, like it's like people have indigenous blood, but they don't call themselves indigenous. And in Mexico, we talked about how there's like shame of being like called Indian or indigenous. And you know, he kind of, you know, said that all of this comes from when the Europeans, you know, invaded Mexico. In order for the indigenous people to survive, they had to assimilate and they had to hide the fact that they were indigenous. And that just kind of stuck, you know, that just kind of like stayed throughout time. And I think that's why like there's a lot of like shame with being called like Indian or indigenous. There's even like other kind of phrases that people say that are very like, I don't know, not nice, like in Mexico. And then he also talked about how, you know, how in order to kind of like distance ourselves from like being Indian or being like indigenous, well, let's say indigenous or native, we started kind of like calling ourselves like, you know, Mexicans too. And well, not really that. I think mostly is like the terms like Latino or like Hispanic, which are European terms. And he kind of was like against those terms because they're European. And he said like those like kind of distance us from who we truly are, that it's like we're like indigenous and Native American too, which, you know, I used to only like put the people who were like in like what is now the United States, who were living here in this like land. I would just like think of them as Native American. But Native American is obviously anyone who's native to the continent, not to the country, because there were no lines, you know, before, you know, like no lines that divided this is the US, this is Mexico, you know. So then I'm like, wow, I was so ignorant. So then I started following more people online who like actually know about this, not just know about this, but that actually fucking care and talk about these issues. And but what I noticed is that a lot of them call themselves Latinxes or Latinos, and I'm like, if they're woke, why do they call themselves like that? So I asked one of them on Twitter, and what I got from him was that in the thread that he sent me, it said something like the worst change, which I feel like that's not very like justifiable. And then the other thing that he said was that, which this one I do agree, that we don't face the same issues that Indigenous people face. You know, like Indigenous people have other issues, like they don't know Spanish. Like in Mexico, they don't know Spanish, and then like Native Americans here have like other issues with like land, and they have their own issues, and like we don't kind of like fit in that, and it's kind of like not right to like put ourselves with them, which I kind of agreed. And then like I tried to search for other people's like opinions, and then what I got from other people, it seemed like they use that because it's more inclusive, like it includes like people from other countries in Latin America. And also I got very surprised that a lot of them are like kind of like against Chicanismo, which I was like really surprised because but I think it's mostly because it's not inclusive. I think they're saying like Chicanismo, it's kind of just Mexicans, and they want to like include other people from the other Latin American countries. So I'm like, okay, I kind of get it, but I'm still learning, so I am not like, you have to call yourself this, label yourself this or that. But I don't know, I still don't really feel comfortable if I were to call myself like Latina. I think that's why I call myself like Mexican or brown. I don't know. Anyways, that has been my my thought process, and knowing this, it pisses me off more because especially like seeing after Trump got elected, it seems like like people, like white people felt more entitled than ever to just like belittle us and just like fucking be shitty people towards us when we were here too. We might have not been here in this specific place, but we were in this continent, and they came from further from the world, and they just feel like superior, and like they have the right to treat us the way they treat us, which just like really pisses me off, especially when I hear them like say like go back to your country, or like like especially go back to your country, or like learn English, like this is the language. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like that could easily fucking be applied to you. Like you go back to your country, to your European places, and this like English is not like an official language here. There were like other languages. Anyways, also I recently took a Native American class, and I learned like I kind of knew that there were like different tribes, but I didn't know to the extent. Like there was actually like a lot. Well, there still is a lot, and that's another issue that we talked about, how like Native Americans, when people talk about them, like they talk like if they don't exist anymore, like they're not here anymore, they're dead, like they disappear, but they're still here, and they should be like respected. And it's just about like how greedy white people are. When I say white people, I don't refer to everyone. It's mostly like the people in power. I'm not the type of person that is like against all white people, or like think that they're shit or anything like that. I know there's like some good white people, and I'm not like, I don't think negative of all of them. I know some people do. Um, they just don't like white people, but that's not me. I just feel like some of them don't know their privilege, and then there's some people that are actually like so fucking entitled. But yeah, that's just like a little bit what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I guess. Bye.